All right, let's load the kiln for a bisque firing. The ones with the mason stain are a little bit more fun. They don't turn into this pink color. Here is the one from my 3D printer process. It actually looked like it turned out pretty well. And applying the slip on the inside. This one's going to be really cool. It's also a nice heavy pot. I was worried I cast it too thick, but I'm actually really liking it. And the carving I did. The darker blue, the darker yellow, and the green. So these are all part of my experiments, mixing up mason stain slip that I already had. And my new marbled attempt. This one had the white on the inside because I didn't have enough slip. This one I did, but I got all these weird squiggles. And this one actually marbled. Just a regular pot. And this is from joining the two pots together. That worked pretty well. Bottom shelf. This is my new mold. It's super soft. Nice thick one. Round. 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 And then finally the round one I squared off. This one also turned out very well. All right, time to glaze those, and then we will be putting them back. It's time for a glaze firing. Let's load up the kiln. All right, layer one with all of the glazed pots. All right, that's all the regular pots. Now I'm going to start putting in the ones with clear glaze on them. All right, perfect. So we got them all in. The kiln is cool. It fired all day yesterday and has sat overnight, so it is cold like the rest of my garage right now. Let's take a peek. Looks like we had a good firing. That's awesome. So some of these pots you have seen before, they have separate videos. The ones that don't, I will spend a little bit more time here looking at. So to start with, here are the marbled pots. These have the clear glaze on them. I think those turned out pretty well. All right, this is one of my orange pots. Looks like I'm getting a little bit better with my glaze application. There's a few little pinholes here, but not too bad. And the inside's nice and clean. This is part of my glaze fest that I did a bunch of pots. This is part of that same glazing session. This is where I stacked the two pots together. I never showed the final version, so here it is. Again, that turned out pretty well. The inside is a little bit messy, but I couldn't really get down in there. It'll be full of dirt, so no problem. The lip looks like it's pretty nice. I was a little bit worried about some of these that I wasn't cleaning the lip quite enough, but I think it turned out pretty well with the glaze over it. There's two of those, so there's another orange one hiding somewhere. This is, again, part of my big glazing spree. This is the first pot I made using my 3D printed form. Looks like it came out pretty well. It's a nice variation in the glaze itself. This one I glazed inside the bottom and cleaned off the foot. And I didn't get any runs, which is great. Pretty happy with that one. And again, part of that same glazing section. This is just one of my regular pots. This one I dipped the rim separately, so you can actually see a little bit of variation there where it came down. Sometimes it'll run really bad, and those runs are pretty ugly. This time it looks like I was able to clean those up pretty well. A few little pinholes. All right, I'm going to cover this one in just a minute, so I'm going to put it down on the next shelf. So this is also part of my glazing session. This nice yellow color. It came out well. Part of the reason I'm making these bigger planters is so I can put a bunch of succulents in here. All right, I just moved this one away. So this one was my mixing of different mason stains in the slip experiment. So before I did the experiment where I had mixed up just straight up mason stains, so I had yellow, blue, and black. This one here is the green that I made. So this one's the combination of the blue and the yellow. Turned out a lot more dark than I was expecting. The glaze worked well. This has a clear glaze on it. The rim did pretty good as well. This one I noticed after I made it, there's actually a little bit of marbling. I didn't quite get all the slip mixed together. That one's good. This one here was the yellow that I added a little bit of black to, and it really darkened up. It's almost a brownish color now, so that's interesting. Rim's good. I got a nice little bit of glaze on the inside. And the final one of that series was this one here, where I have the blue and I added a little bit of black. And on the inside, there was a little bit of marbling, so I needed to add a little bit more slip to get it to fill all the way up to the top of the mold. So here's one I have another video on. This is all of the leftover slip that I had mixed together. It turned into this gray color. It's actually reasonably nice. There's no way I could possibly reproduce this color since it's just all the trimmings that have been mixed together, but it turned out pretty well. Looks like I got the glaze a little bit thin in a few spots. There's some raw clay poking through in a few spots. All right, I'm sure you've been seeing this one hiding off to the corner. I'm going to talk about it in just a minute. This one is really, really good. I like this. So this was my first attempt at applying slip to the inside of my plaster mold in a pattern and then filling the rest up with slip. This one's been sitting on my shelf for a while waiting to be fired. So I showed it in the bone dry state, but I didn't actually ever finish it till just now. It's a very thick, heavy pot. I wasn't quite sure if I'd like that when I fired it. Maybe it's a little bit thick, but I think it actually is really nice. In contrast, this pot I just pulled out is really, really thin. So I think I like the heft. So I probably should start slip casting a little bit thicker. And last but not least on the shelf, here is the pot that I slip cast several different layers of different colors and then carved through it. Again, I showed this one in the bone dry state, but I just finished firing. I put a nice clear glaze over it, and it turned out really, really well. Got a small little crack in the bottom there. So you can see where I carved through all the different layers. You can see all different colors. Yeah, that one's really cool. These are a ton of work. I've seen these on Instagram and a few other places where they have different layers. I am very impressed by the skill and patience of those people. And here are the last pots from the glazing time video. So, the last of the oranges. The purple, again, applies pretty thin, so I get this nice variation in the glaze. The other purple. So here's a few runs. I thought I'd clean those up a little bit better, but it's not too bad. Definitely see where it's thicker on the top, where I dipped it again. Blues. And this one turned out really well. One of my older molds, just simple yellow. And last but not least, the last yellow. This is a pretty cool mold as well. Nice geometric. This is something you're definitely not going to throw on a wheel. Foot cleaned up nicely, no runs, didn't stick. Awesome. All right, the kiln is done for now. All right, here are all the pots sitting on the shelves. So that was a successful glaze firing. I keep having those, so I am happy with that. I'll take it. As I mentioned, several of these pots have separate videos, so if you haven't seen those, go back and check them out. A few of them don't, like this one here. This is the end result. If you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Thanks.